Hello, everyone. Welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition.
Wait, that's not it.
Start again. What's up, fat fucker?
Two Dads, Gen X edition. That's a great beginning.
James!
Ow.
What's going on, dude?
That, pierced my ears.
Well, at least it's not piercing your body fat.
I had a friend that did the Prince Albert piercing.
I did, too. Oh, my God. So,
No. He didn't do the Prince Albert. He did the latter.
Oh, so I had a coworker when I was a manager at the Buckle. He came in. He was like super. I mean, he's like 16-year-old kid that did a Prince Albert, and we're working with the racks. You know, the racks have all these arms that stick out and everything. And he goes to stand up, and it catches on the rack, and he's like, "Ah!" and just blood all down his crotch.
I don't
like
the Prince Albert one
fuck,
where
dude?
it goes straight through, and it's like, who would risk that? Because infection.
Well, it split the head of his penis in half. Oh. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But yeah, that actually goes to our topic today. Not penis piercings or anything like that, but body shaming.
Yeah, body shaming, like shaming people for having split penis heads.
Yeah, the snake bite. The big thing, too, honestly, is you know how women don't realize how much they do body shame men and the small things. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about.
Mean. I mean, they're mean to each other, but man, they're mean to men.
Well, they don't realize it. You know, like most men, you know, they just kind of brush it off. They kind of try to deal with it. And
yeah, we've been bullied all our lives, so we're used to it, but that doesn't mean we like it.
Yeah, it's like, okay. You know, so, you know, if I could describe myself as a snack, you know, as a body type, I'm kind of like the snack that falls in the car bottom that the kids forget about.
The Skittle that's stuck to the carpet.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
How about you? Any good, funny body shamings?
Funny body shamings? No, I have a really bad one.
Well, we'll get into that one.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, we'll get into that one. Man,
well,
shifting around in my chair. Sorry.
I know, and I do want to say James is actually doing a really good job losing weight. He's lost over 90 pounds. Looks great. So
almost 90.
We're gonna have to redo the intro because you know I can't call you fat fucker anymore.
Well, you still can, but it just won't apply.
It won't apply.
Yeah,
at all.
I was in the Army, dude. I got insulted so often. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's Two Dads this shit.
Sounds great. Let's do it. No.
I know it's your favorite music, baby.
Oh my gosh. Are we gonna do that every single episode?
I'm just doing it until it gets old. But
it was old the first time. Oh, for you?
Not for me. I mean, I just literally imagine you like as a kid with a bottle of lotion with the music.
No.
Wait, did I just say I imagined him?
You just imagined me masturbating with lotion.
Okay. No, I don't. In this imagination, the door closes
Dawson's
right
coming
before
out
the
today.
bad stuff. Jeez. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's Two Dads, Gen X edition, body shaming. Obviously, we're going to tweak the title a little bit because we like to do that kind of stuff.
Well, but that's kind of the general subject of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. Hit that like and subscribe button. Every new episode's every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And in the comments, you know, let us know what horrible things have been told to you, body shaming wise, or what women have done to you that really kind of hit you hard.
Yeah.
Made you go to the gym.
We can do another episode like this and share some of the experience that other people have had, other men have had of being body shamed.
Yeah.
So, because, like you mentioned earlier, I don't think women realize how much they do it to us. Even without even trying or not thinking about it, it still happens. Men are very emotional creatures.
Yeah.
We're very emotional creatures. We're just trained to suck it up, walk it off, and rub dirt in it.
Well, and I think a lot of it, the subconscious drilling of it, you know, when we look at back in the 80s and 90s, the body types of men, I mean, what do you remember?
So it varied, right? Like there was hairy guys and, there was a lot more thin guys. I mean, the obesity epidemic in this country is actually a thing. There were more men that were just more lean, but
yeah, like in high school, because like I always thought I was the fat kid in our group, because Brandon, worked out and he played football. I played football. Chandler was just naturally high testosterone and high energy, so he was always thin. Could eat
ADHD.
anything. Yeah, well, that was Brian. And that guy could, he'd eat like a whole slab of ribs and still be like, "Hey man, can we go get McDonald's?"
Dude, when I was a teenager, I could eat whatever I wanted. It didn't matter.
And I wasn't like that. And I broke my leg when I was 12, and it was a spiral fracture, so I was actually in bed for a year, and I gained like 40 pounds, and it started, the guys, we joke with each other, and most of the time, we brush it off as we're just joking.
Mm-hmm.
But when it becomes a constant, over the top, every joke every day, you start to feel more withdrawn, and you kind of lose your funny.
You lose your self-confidence.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
And I really pushed to, I had one pigeon leg because that leg was in the cast for a year. So I was like, I really need to find something that works for me. So I actually started cycling and doing that. And it was cool because they all supported me. They were all like, "Yeah, man, let's go. Yeah. So we actually rode our bikes from Kansas City to the Ozarks, as a Boy Scout high adventure thing. We'd camp along the way.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, it was good.
That's pretty far.
But it was hard because I look back at pictures of me in high school. I was a normal 190-pound kid that, had some muscle, but I was made to feel like I was the fat one.
Yeah,
And it's hard, in psychology, that when you start having a subconscious view of your body image, that even when you start looking good, you can self-sabotage and actually eat junk food when you actually are starting to lose weight. Your body's like, "Oh, that's not us. What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Right.
So it's like you have to retrain your subconscious to accept you losing the weight and being in shape and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I had an older brother. I have 5 brothers, right?
Yeah.
We all played like Little League football, but I'm the only one that didn't play football in high school. And but I could have. I didn't. Didn't like the attitude of the guys on the team. I'm a soft soul, gentle soul kind of person. Anyway, so my older brother, he was a grade ahead of me, and he was a really good athlete. He ran track, played basketball, football, all this other stuff. And he always called me skinny. And so one of the goals that I had was, so my junior year of high school, I took the weight training class that they offered, and I did it junior and senior year. And my goal was to beat every single one of his lifts because all the football players, they had their lifts on the wall. Right.
Yeah.
The only one I didn't beat was his bench. I was short 5 pounds, but everything else I destroyed. But I was still skinny. Skinny in appearance, but I still weighed 200 pounds. I was 6'2", 200 pounds, but I also didn't go for like show.
Yeah.
Muscle,
like lean.
I wanted strength, and so because my family had land, and we'd cut down trees and plant orchards and build fencing and stuff like that. So it was practical strength, right? But back then, I still didn't see myself as strong. I didn't see myself as good looking body or anything like that. I've never had a 6-pack. I don't know about you, but I've never had a 6-pack.
I got one under my pony keg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah,
I can kind of feel it.
It's insulated. You're protecting it.
When I do one crunch, I feel it definitely.
But when I was in the Army, though, because you're working out all the time, this is going to sound really arrogant. I looked pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, where are you going with this?
So I actually had pecs and abs and stuff. I had like a 4-pack and, biceps and all that kind of stuff. I looked pretty good.
So you drank the other 2?
Yeah. I drank the other 2.
Dad joke.
But yeah, so I was body shamed quite a bit because I got injured in Iraq and ultimately ended up not being able to exercise anymore and started gaining weight.
Well, and it really is hard because it really, just like with girls, they deal with the whole image of beauty and falseness. And if girls need to understand, go on YouTube and see how they edit pictures to give them that fine, perfect person.
Yeah.
They're never what they look like. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, don't go down the rabbit hole of hey, what a porn star look in real life. But there's a lot of ugly.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be saying ugly. That's kind of judgmental, but these guys wouldn't be probably watching that kind of stuff if they knew that it's that. And the thing is, you're selling a fake persona of somebody. And the problem is, as a kid, if they're being bullied and their self-esteem is dropping. That's where eating disorders happen. That's where, suicides. That's where people don't realize that you can really devastate someone for life.
Yeah.
With that kind of stuff. And I remember gaining that weight from a broken leg and having to lay in bed for a fucking year. I got so bullied, from a lot of girls I liked. I was actually dating a girl, and when I came back, she's like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" I broke my leg and had to lay in bed for a year. She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to date anymore." And I was like, "Okay." And I was only 190 pounds. It's like I wasn't this big kid, and it just was really hard for me after that, to not have that subconscious fear of denial and rejection.
Yeah.
So even when I got back into shape, subconsciously, I still saw me as that kid because I wasn't getting positive reinforcement from anybody. And I shouldn't need that. You should really always.
It's nice to say
yourself.
that we shouldn't need it, but we want it. We crave it.
And especially as men, when we work our asses off to achieve something, it's part of our nature to be complimented, to be I can't think of the word.
The positive reinforcement.
Yeah, just like reaffirming what we've done, and it's like, babe, you look great. Oh my God, and it just kind of brings me back to, as a kid, it just was hard, and so I know that played into going forward into my marriage when I wasn't getting that, and it kind of leads me into marriage and women you're dating now, the modern body, which is now all these bodybuilders, all these gym rats that try to present it as, oh, this is normal, you can do this really easy. No, you're at the gym for 4.5 hours, and that's your job.
Well, Liver King, he tried to say that it was exercise and diet, and then he came out and finally he acknowledged that he was taking steroids and stuff.
Yeah.
How many in the Army? There were people taking steroids. You're not allowed to. You're not supposed to. But it's an expensive test, I guess. And so you could see it. An 18-year-old who's just ripped and massive. That's not natural.
Well, remember that kid that's like 5 and he was ripped like a bodybuilder? And
mini Hercules or whatever.
Yeah, and the dad was so proud of himself because he got his kid, which is so detrimental to the human body as a kid. They actually tell you do not start working out until you're almost 15, 16.
No, my son wanted to work out and use supplements and stuff like that, and I told him, I said, when you have fully grown, when you're 17, 18 is about when your body should be done growing. At that point, maybe. But if you try and do it beforehand, you may alter or stunt your growth and limit kind of thing. With my daughters, being a single dad and raising 4 daughters, and all my daughters are beautiful young women. But nobody go after him because I'll cut a bitch. No, I didn't want them to worry so much about their appearance, and so I focused on health. I didn't focus on weight.
Yeah.
I wanted to focus on health, but I also pointed out to them because they would follow these social media influencers and stuff, and they were into makeup, and their mom was a cosmetologist, and so hair and makeup was a thing growing up. But I always pointed out those influencers are products.
Yeah.
There is a group of people behind them that are creating an image so that they can be successful, make money, that kind of stuff. But that snippet, that 30 seconds, that those pictures, all that kind of stuff, those are edited out of hundreds of things to find the ones that they think are the best so that they can present that image. It's not real. And like you were saying with porn and stuff like that, it's fake. And one of the downsides to porn is that it creates this false sense of reality and false expectation of what the body looks like, how intimacy is supposed to be, and expectations for men and for women. And teenagers now are trying to act like porn stars.
Yeah, they're getting,
it's horrible,
getting ripped, and
yeah,
and it's just it really goes back to the point that as we get older, it's almost to the point where you can't even tell the ages of people. And so it's when you go to products that people are using to look younger, for the modern man right now, we're concerned about we're getting made to feel bad about having a dad bod, having just a couple wrinkles. My ex-girlfriend, she's like, oh, you got a wrinkle over your brow, oh my God. And she spent,
a wrinkle.
$400 on this cream stuff.
Yeah.
And of course I want to make her happy, so I'm using it every day. I'm not seeing a difference. And then of course subconsciously it's starting in my head. I'm like, oh shit, if I start getting more, is she gonna
she's not going to want you anymore.
Interested in me? Is she going to that?
Yeah.
And Bradley University, they actually did a couple studies on a lot of different areas, like how eating disorders are made due to parents telling their kids, "Don't eat that, you'll get fat."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, don't fucking tell your kid that. Don't ever tell your kid that.
Yeah.
Tell them that's an unhealthy choice. Let's eat this instead.
Right.
You know, help them understand why it's bad for their body. Don't tell them, don't eat that, you're going to get fat. Don't put that in your body, you look ugly. Don't fucking ever tell your kid they look ugly. And don't tell your kid they look fat.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we're getting a little unhealthy. Let's go to the gym together.
Well, and it's in part a generational thing. So, like, my dad, my mom didn't do it. My dad would sometimes point out, like, even a couple of years ago, we were over, I was over at my parents' place, and we were doing, like, a birthday or something like that. And my mom was cutting up cake, and they were scooping ice cream, and my dad was like, "Are you sure you want to eat that?" And I looked at him, and I'm like, yeah, I do.
See,
I hadn't lost the weight yet. I peaked at like 350 pounds, but it was like, don't shame me because I'm just a heavy, you know. It's a birthday. This is a tradition, and I'm not eating half the cake. It's good. It's fine. Yeah. You know. But it's a generational thing. So back in you know the 50s and 60s and stuff, women were men and women were shamed for being heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, they even like advertised cigarettes for like, oh, smoke, you're going to have an easier birth. You know, your kid's going to be smaller, and that's good. It makes it easy. It's like
underdeveloped,
wow, right? And so there's some of that influence, but yeah, when it continues, like our generation or these generations coming up, if they're telling their kids that they're going to be fat or they're ugly or they're stupid or whatever, that's just that you're just destroying your kid's spirit. Don't do that.
And it really goes, back to, as we're talking, like, growing up as kids, like it really, our food, there were no, like, hardly any fat kids, almost no child cancer before 1970.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our food in America is so processed and so disgusting.
We're jumping into conspiracy theory.
No, it's true, man. It's so freaking true.
No, it is.
It's like I'm actually investing in Italian flour because it doesn't have all the additives that our body goes, I don't know what the hell this is, and it makes you gain weight.
And it's not just additives; it's the modifications that they do. Because like here, they've developed the wheat to grow huge heads of berries. That's what they call the grains, wheat berries, wheat kernels, whatever you want to call them. But
huge tracts of land,
because then you can produce more wheat, per acre. But they got so heavy that the stalks couldn't hold them anymore, and so they genetically modified the stalks to be able to hold these heavier heads of wheat. What it also did was it lengthened the gluten chains. Yeah. And so the gluten intolerance and all these problems that people have with their gut and gaining weight.
But it's not.
But in Europe, they don't.
It's not the gluten, though. It's the chemicals that they use to do it. Because I have a friend who's hardcore, horrible gluten allergy. Went to Italy, ate more bread than he's ever eaten in his life. No issues. He ate all these foods that he's allergic to in America. No issues.
Right.
And so it's like,
I don't even think Europe allows our wheat to be sold over there.
Nope.
So,
not for humans.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question though. What do you think the body standards are now for men?
I think it's you're actually, there's a great guy, like that kid that goes around New York just interviewing people just to show how ignorant people are, and he asked girls. We actually talked about it in one of our episodes with the girl. It's about financial stability and stuff like that. What do you expect your husband, a man, to make?
Right.
And all these women are saying $200,000-$300,000 at age 20, and I'm like, what the hell? Well, he went around and asking him, if your boyfriend gained 10 pounds, what would you do? 100% said I either tell him, basically body shame him to go to the gym, or break up with him.
Yeah.
And Bradley University basically did the same study, and they showed that 90% of the women, that when their man gains about 10 to 15 pounds, they start to get more distant and start showing less love and start body shaming him. And so I think there's a greater need for men to be more fit, more ripped, to just look younger. I mean, you look at George Costanza on Seinfeld. That guy was 32 years old when he started on Seinfeld. Watching that as a kid, I thought the guy was 50.
Yeah.
But now you can't even tell. Some of these people are 67 years old, and I have patients that come in that are 90 that look like they're 65 because they're using all these products. But a lot of them though, they ate clean.
Right. And that's, drinking lots of water and eating clean, right?
Yeah, clean food. Always cook their foods. No DoorDash, no meals. And we can talk about that in another episode of the fall of the family meal and the family dinner.
Oh, that'd be a good one,
kind of thing. And I think men have more, because it used to be metrosexual kind of thing, like kind of like the more gay individual would take care of their skin and look good. I mean, honestly, most gay men look really good, skin wise, and they are in shape and stuff like that. But when you start having kids, it's hard to get that workout in. It's hard to do your job if you're a guy like me.
Oh, yeah.
Works 70 to 100 hours a week.
Well, and then there's the sympathy weight
days.
where it's like, the wife wants the pickles and ice cream, and she wants to eat this, and she, 2 o'clock in the morning, she's craving McDonald's, and so what do? You get some too, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what with my marriage is what I did is I gained the weight with her, and in no way in my life in our marriage did I ever felt like she was fat and ugly or she gained too much weight. And what's cool is that same study, they asked men, and every man, I think it was like only 3% of the men said, oh yeah, I wouldn't be in love with him anymore.
Right.
And probably because women gain the weight in their boobs and their ass first and their hips, and most guys like those features.
Well, I think the majority of men, not all of them, there are douchebags out there, of course, but
I don't think those are the fathers. I think those are the single man that's just trying to be a fuckboy or a lad.
Yeah,
in English term, the lad, kind of thing.
But like my first wife, she would we had 5 kids, and she would gain a lot of weight each time. She'd always lose it, but I remember like she was like 3 months afterwards, she was always like, "Oh, I'm not going to lose it. I'm going to be big." And da-da-da. She was worried about all that kind of stuff. I'm like, "You lose it every time. You're beautiful. It doesn't matter. All that kind of stuff. The stretch marks, those are earned to me. Where it's like you brought a child into the world. That's a badge of honor, right?
Yeah, stuff
like that. But then, and here's that experience I kind of alluded to earlier. So right before she asked for the divorce, I guess. I'd gotten injured in Iraq, tried to work through it, ended up medically retiring out of the military. I was getting out of our shower. I was like 260, 270 at the time. I was drying off. She was like putting on makeup or something like that. And it wasn't word for word. I don't remember it word for word, but basically it was like, she looked at me like with this kind of disgusted look. She's like, it's really unfortunate that somebody looks like me has to be married to somebody who looks like you.
Yeah.
And I apologized and said that I'd work on it and lose weight. I was sorry that I had gained so much. And it's like,
and then it was in your head every day.
Still is.
Of your marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, still is. And so like even like going through the divorce, I did the same diet that I'm on now. Because part of the mindset was, well, fuck you. I'm going to show you what you lost. She didn't care. She was done with me. But I'd lost all, like 80 pounds, got back to, 225 or so. And, but that was, the wrong motivation. Right. Yeah. And so there's a lot of guys that go to the gym in part because of that shame and that cultural kind of stuff where it's not about what they actually want or how they want to be healthy. They're trying to look a certain way so that they can be attractive to women instead of recognizing the value of who they are. So like for me losing this weight, it's not to look a certain way. It's I need to be healthier. I'd gained way too much weight. I've got grandkids that I want to be around for and be able to enjoy and run around with. And I when I hit that 350, it wasn't like the body shame, like, oh, I'm disgusting. It's, I would look in the mirror and it's like, I don't feel like I look like that. And so it's about matching that, what I see in the mirror is who I am. Well,
yeah, and that's the actual goal in life in general is you're trying to get your subconscious image of yourself to match your actual image of yourself. And that's also what you do with people is like you're trying to present yourself in a certain way that people see you that way.
Yeah.
And when you misalign that, that's usually when you struggle in life and stuff like that.
That's when we start having body image issues and bulimia happens.
And it's hard because like with mine, ultimately going to marriage counseling, understanding all of why our marriage failed. But for me, it just, because of high school and because of experience of other women in my past, I started to feel like if I didn't have sex in 3 days, then she doesn't like me. She doesn't love me. She doesn't this kind of stuff. And there was a study showing that really you should be intimate with your spouse at least once 2 to 3 days to keep that emotional connection.
Yeah.
But there's also the small things, that rubbing of the back when you walk by, squeezing the hands, the small things that women want men. You got to understand that, guys. The small things mean more to women than the big things. The big things are awesome when you do it.
Right.
Like you vacuum for the first time in a month, but don't go parading around going, hey, I vacuumed. You notice I vacuumed. Hey, guess what? I vacuumed. She's going to go, cool. Good job. Thanks for doing it.
Right.
Do more often. But if you just do it and then don't say anything, that's when you might get laid that night.
Well, but here's the problem, though, and this is I think leads into the double standard kind of mindset where it's like, because one of the things that I tried to do as a husband in both marriages and kind of the example I wanted to show my kids, right, is that I was willing to do a lot of whatever. Just too. Because I was out working I didn't come home and just sit around and do nothing. I would clean, I would do dishes, I would make dinner and all that kind of stuff, and help take care of the kids, and because I've always read articles where women are like, oh, that's sexy and that makes my man attractive and all this other stuff, and then but one of the things that developed, and I've seen this a lot actually, where and there's a really cool book out there called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah. It's not an excuse to be an asshole.
Yeah, please don't.
But it talks about the nice guy syndrome, and as your partner expresses, I'd really like it if you would help with this. And then you start doing that. But then they don't recognize it, acknowledge it, appreciate it. They don't say that. It just becomes the new norm. And now there's a new thing they're complaining about. And so we try and work on that. And so that happens with men want to be pursued. We want to be attractive. We want our partners to be like, ooh, he's sexy. I want him. Not all the time. But we want to feel that sometimes, right?
No, we need to.
We need to, yeah.
We do, as men, we want to make you feel secure, financially safe, and wanted, and needed, And that's not a masculinity bullshit to roll over women. No, it's just women want to feel needed and wanted and desired and thanked. That's why I tell people, I'm like, tell your fucking wife, thanks for being a good mom. Just out of the blue.
Right.
That will go so far. It will go so far. But even with the role reversals, and I definitely want to do that episode down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was me. It's acknowledge your man, what he does, and I love that there's a gal on there now that, she's a feminist, but she's not extreme feminist. But she's a stay-at-home mom, raises her 4 kids, but they have a farm, a house, like 2 cows, all this stuff. And I love that she just one day got on there and went on a rant, basically bashing women for saying we don't need men in this world. And she goes, I would have none of this without my husband.
Well, and the reality is because there's kind of there's been a movement with women out there that's kind of how they think. It's like, I'm a queen, I deserve to be treated like a queen. Yes, that's true. However, to be treated like a queen, you have to have a king, right?
Well, you treat your husband like a king, and he'll treat you like a queen.
And that's the thing is, like, as for me, I know part of the way I've responded to hearing, like, and I know this is just social media and it's snippets that people put out there to get views and stuff. But as I hear women talking about, how they're bashing their men and stuff like that, and we don't need men, and I'm secure and I'm professional and all the stuff, it's like, fine, be single then. Not for you, but like, I'll be single then. Because if I'm not going to be valued, if somebody's not going to see the effort and value the effort and actually like reciprocate what I give, fuck it.
And that's why a lot of these men are going into the Sigma mode.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck this. Like, if I'm not going to be appreciated or wanted, and you're basically going to bash me for not doing the things you want specifically. When it goes back to my marriage, when you talked about the new standard or the new
normal,
that was my whole fucking marriage. I'm like, I'm home raising the kids. She's working, traveling. I'm still working full time on the weekends to make up my hours and kind of thing. And I would be like, hey, can we go on a date? Can we have sex? And it got to the point where I'm like begging for sex, which is bullshit. And honestly, there's been so much proof out there psychology wise that when a woman turns sex into a reward punishment, it actually demeans the meaning of sex for them. and it makes them not want sex as much. And it's something that they actually brought onto themselves by turning it into a reward punishment kind of system. And I got to this point where I'm like, okay, what is wrong with me? Am I too fat? Am I not good in bed? Am I just not doing enough? And I'd be like, hey, what can I do to get more time with you? And she's like, well, maybe if you feed the kids before I get home.
Yeah.
And it turned into maybe if you fed the kids and got them bathed before I came home. Then it became maybe you fed the kids, got them bathed, and read them books and had them in bed so I can just come in and give them a kiss. And I'm just like, why do you not want to spend time with your kids?
Right.
And really it was, our home was so miserable for both of us.
Yeah.
And I've seen the reverse role where the husband works overtime and so much because he
and then gets
so
shamed for not being
miserable.
home.
Yeah, it's so miserable to come home because when he comes home, he just gets nagged and put down, and you're failing here, you're failing here, you're failing here. And I'll tell you, man, in the men's psyche and same with the body is like the more you put a man down, the less you're going to get from him.
Well, and the reality is, and this is, so I worked with a number of couples. I don't do couples and family very much. That's not my area of focus, but I have worked with a number of couples, and with things that I've researched and studied and things that I've found is as soon as intimacy, not just sex, but intimacy becomes transactional or used as a tool to manipulate and control, the marriage is over if that doesn't stop. Yeah. Because eventually the men are just going to give up. They're just going to say, fine. And I got to this point too. I remember saying, and I was pretty pissed. But I remember saying something to the effect of, I won't touch you. I won't kiss you. I won't do anything with you. When you want me to, to touch you or anything, you let me know and I'll be fine with it. But until then, I won't do a thing, because it was like anything I would do was all I want to do is have sex. Yeah. And it wasn't about sex. It was about connection, quality. But it added to that feeling of rejection, feeling like I'm not good enough, feeling like I'm, she's not attracted to me, all this other stuff. It sucks to be in that place. It hurts. Yeah, it really does. It really beats you down. Yeah, and then then women are like, I don't know why he shuts down all the time. Yeah, it's like, what do I do? And it goes back to where you said, hey, if your husband's like, I love the fact that I read an article on how to build bonding time with your wife and the things you can do, like walks and healthy and it wasn't like to get more sex or anything like that. It was actually like, hey, your husband had a heart attack and you want to obviously keep him around longer or vice versa. And it was quality time that people actually found as they got older. They're like, holy shit, why didn't we do this when we were 30s, 40s? Because that was, you're walking, talking about other things. And for me, it really was just having that connection and feeling loved and wanted for all I did. And I fucked up with one thing. It's like my ex really was taught that your value as a man is only on how much money you make, kind of thing. Yeah. And a respiratory therapist, and I don't even know if she knew this, but I think it was just subconsciously drilled in her head by her mom. But I think I really struggled with the fact that, I was a respiratory therapist. I'm saving lives for a living. And she hated when I would say that because it demeaned her job, financial. And I'm like, no, it's just a funny joke. But it made me hate my job of helping people and saving lives. And honestly, I've seen over 1,000 people die being on the code team. I just, the emotional part of it, and to come home and made me feel bad that my job was worthless, kind of thing. Even though I, maintained us till she got through school and stuff like that. And down the road with that body shaming, I just eventually one time I was like, why won't you fucking have sex with me? Like, what the fuck? Like, what do I need to do? And she's like, well, maybe if you weren't so fat. And in that moment, my heart was crushed because everything for the 3 fucking years that I was like, why? Yeah. Just hit so fucking hard that it was pouring out rain. I went, got on my bike, and I was gone for like, I think 3 hours just riding in the rain bike. And I did P90X, did 2-a-days, started losing the weight. And guess who started noticing? People at work. Yeah. People at work were like, oh my God, you look so good. Oh my God, you look so good. And guess what that leads to?
someone showing
checking out, someone
shows more interest in you, starts showing interesting things, and I'll admit, man, I got in a situation where I almost fucked up, but in that moment, I go, I want this with my wife. I don't want this with a stranger. I want this someone with my kid, and that ultimately was what tore our relationship apart. But but it led to the body shaming, to making me feel shitty, for making me feel like I could never do enough. And I don't think women realize that if you have a good, strong connection, then the jokes can come in. Like, my wife can be like, hey, baby, you're getting a little around the edges. Let's go to the gym this week. Let's set a time to go together.
Well, and it depends on the relationship and who the guy is, because that could be insulting too.
Well, yeah,
right?
but I mean, you got to know your husband, kind of thing, or your spouse, and I really did learn over time that motivation comes from doing things together, and so it's like you don't have to be a douche or a douchebag to your wife if she's gaining weight, or a dick to your husband. You just like, hey, honey, I want to go on more walks. So we can spend more time together. Yeah. It's like those subtle ways of get things going. Well, like, let's eat more clean. Let's do things that you're doing together that's going to actually help build. Start cooking together, do classes together.
Right. Yeah. Make it a joint effort. Support it. Encourage it. But like when the negativity comes in, when the criticism comes in, it starts causing that insecurity. It starts causing the stress and the anxiety. And then guess what? Cortisol goes up, and you don't want to work out anymore, and you start eating. You're eating your feelings, and weight goes up, and so the criticism gets worse, and it just becomes this perpetual cycle.
Testosterone goes down.
Testosterone goes down. It's like it becomes this horribly damaging thing. That, it's like I don't think people realize. Sometimes I don't think they don't care, but I don't think people realize how important what we say matters.
Yeah. How
important the way that we respond to somebody matters. And there's this movement on TikTok right now, the dads supporting dads, that you and I've been joining and building. And it's like men are like, we're not getting support from anybody else. Let's give it to each other if we're not going to get it anywhere else, And
I love it because there's so many guys showing their kids and the things they're doing, and I think it's funny, like, women are like, oh, let's do a mom's one. Like, you're missing the point, guys.
Right.
It's because men have not felt appreciated the last 5 years because of...
No, the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, that too.
It's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
And no part of us are ever saying that the equality thing fucked it up. No, actually, I love that women have more equality, equal pay, but it's also on merit-based earning,
Right.
What you do, how you do it, what you bring. And like I've said in the past, don't try to be a man, be the best woman you can be, because women bring great things to the workplace.
I think the difference has been modern feminism, not classic feminism. Yeah. And the way I distinguish the two is the classic feminism is the desire for mutual respect, mutual understanding, being seen and heard, being able to pursue jobs in whatever field, that kind of thing. The modern feminism is the women are on top, men are evil, masculinity is toxic, all that kind of stuff. Men are sick of that.
Yeah, we're done.
And so, like, when it comes to like the dad bod, I think a lot of us are like, I like the way I look, I like the way I feel, and if I'm not pretty enough or masculine enough for you, then all right, fuck you, I'll just be single.
And what's awesome is Men's Health did a article on a CEO that has the classic penguin dad bod.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-millionaire tech guy, I wish I could remember his name, but he won the New York Marathon.
Yeah.
And he's this huge body. I mean, I think he's like 220, 230, I don't know. But he has that huge beer gut.
Yeah.
But the guy, I think he ran like 5 miles a day, swam 2 miles, and cycled at the same time. And he just could not lose the weight. And there are just some body types of people that can't lose the weight. Like, I had my testosterone checked. It was 7. Normal is 200 to 1,200. And insurance still denied me testosterone.
Are you kidding?
So
insurance companies suck.
Yeah, I do. Obamacare. And the only way to truly get your testosterone back again is to decrease eating the things that have estrogen in it.
Mm-hmm.
Decreasing the things that raise your cortisol, which flaxseed is huge on doing that. So men, don't do flaxseed. And basically lifting muscle. And the nice thing is you're starting to see more workouts for 40 to 80-year-olds, which is all muscle related, not cardio. Because if you build a muscle, you raise your testosterone, your metabolism goes up and stuff like that, which is good. Yeah. And so you just kind of learn to do that. And it's just nice. And I think, with the body shaming, with the dad bod, I think it's actually been kind of nice seeing more realistic women saying, no, I want the guy that actually is real, that doesn't have to go to the gym for 6 hours to keep that body. It's like, I want my man to be healthy. Right. And that's what I love is the saying is that I want him to be ripped and this. They just say, I want my man to be healthy, have the longevity. Well,
and the reality is if a man is being respected and valued and encouraged and loved and all those things, he will exercise. He will not be sitting around all the time because he's going to feel good about himself and he'll want to get out and do more. He's not going to, be like a romance novel cover model kind of thing.
Which you read.
I've read a romance novel.
I know
it. But it's you are. I say this all the time with with parents and stuff like that in my work, where it's like you encourage the positive behavior based on how you respond to the positive behavior. Yeah. You discourage the negative behavior based on how you respond to the negative behavior.
Well, it's just like when your husband, say does the dishes for the first time in a month. Kiss him on the cheek, smack his ass, and go, babe, that meant a lot to me.
Thank you. Yeah.
And even if he didn't stack them in the right way in the thing or whatever, didn't wash something, or there's maybe some smudge on the plate, don't fucking point it out. Yeah. Just give him positive reinforcement. Well, and guess what? He'll do it more often.
He's likely to do it more often because you're not sitting there going, well, you did that wrong, or you didn't put it in the dishwasher the right way, or whatever it is, you forgot to wipe off the counters, that kind of thing. Because you're just pointing out a negative. It's like, well, fine, I guess I can't do it right, so I just won't do it. Yep. If dishes are dirty in the dishwasher after they run through a cycle, run another cycle. It's okay. Well, it's not the end of the world.
It goes to taking care of the kids too. Like, and dad's taking care of the kids, and he's playing with the kids and doing what he roughhousing with the kids or whatever, doing whatever.
Show the appreciation.
Take a step back.
Yeah.
And watch that moment with him and the kids.
Yeah.
It's like watching a sunrise and a sunset. Stop. Take a moment to appreciate it, because you never know, man.
And if he's getting angry, or if he's yelling at the kids, or he's not handling the stress at home very well, how about asking him, you seem like you're stressed. What can I do to help?
Or really just say,
not criticize. Okay? Yeah, are you okay? And here's the secret. This is a little trick for all the women that will listen to this, hopefully. If you really want to know what a guy thinks, you really want to know what he feels, after you ask that question, are you okay? Shut up.
Listen. Active listening.
Well, no, and it's so there's a thing called therapeutic silence, right?
Yeah.
If you speak before he actually opens up, you just ruined it, because he doesn't trust that he can open up. And so if you ask, are you okay? Or you seem really stressed. Let me, talk to me about it. If you interrupt that, it might take 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes even. Sit there and listen. And if he's like, well, I don't know. No, I really want to know. Then shut up. But as soon as you start assuming what he's thinking, or as soon as you start talking about something else or criticizing this, he's not going to open up, because he knows that he can't.
And if you do it more than once, then eventually he'll just keep it in.
Yeah.
Which is one of our biggest downfalls. I think
there's a scene in The Proposal, Ryan Reynolds and what's her face? Sandra Bullock, yeah. Sorry, Sandra. Not that I matter, because she doesn't know who I am. But at the end,
you do matter.
Thank you.
You're somebody.
Thanks, Dawson.
Gosh darn it, you're good enough. You're smart enough.
And doggone it, people like me. Yeah. Stuart Smalley. But she's packing up her office because she's going back to Canada, all that kind of stuff. And he comes in and she's, he's like, he says he has some things to say, and she starts talking. He's like, I said, don't talk.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, it's like, I have some things I want to say to you. I want to get them out. Don't interrupt me, because I need to say these things to you. And then, that distraction of and she's like this power, executive kind of thing. But that kind of mindset where it's like, so often we get interrupted, or told what we think, or told what we feel, or assumed what we think or feel. And it's like, why would I care to share? And then you get stressed, then you get depressed, then you don't engage, eat your feelings, and you gain more weight, and that's criticized. It becomes this horrible perpetual cycle, and so many men go through that. And I don't think most women realize they're the ones doing it to them.
Well, and it goes to the same way with, society in general too is doing it. They're being taught that you should tell your man how to feel, tell them what to do and how to do it, and how their body should look, and
or asking men how they feel and then making fun of them for feeling that way.
Yeah, that my old joke when we were younger. It's like, takes a big man to cry, but it takes a bigger man to laugh at that man. That was like funny back in the 80s, but now it's like, dude, that's douchey.
Fucked up.
It's like, that's douchey, man. It's like, he actually shared his feelings, and I wear my feelings on my sleeve quite a bit, and being an Aries, sometimes I've actually done really good at controlling and being patient, and I'll tell you right now, like, the relationship I am in now, I love it, man. I got the support, and it was so cute.
I got it. You got a really cool girlfriend. She's awesome.
No, but the great thing is memes come out that actually have shown that if you have a supportive spouse, and they really say a supportive woman, that it actually adds 10 years to a man's life. But I'd say that's across the board. Like, if you have a supportive family and supportive system, you're going to live longer, because every elderly that's been married 50, 60 years, which is so insane, when I ask them what's the key, they're like, don't argue about stupid shit, respect each other, and be a team.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so lost in so many things. And I'll tell you right now, so many men in America are actually dating people from other countries is they don't want to deal with the bullshit that
America. Because there's cultural things in other countries about, like, supporting the family, being that tradition, not the trad wife, right? But a traditional valued person is important. I think there's nothing wrong with successful women. There's nothing wrong with it's awesome. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. Yeah. But at the expense of your partner, when you say you want to find a partner, come on. So,
well, guys, I just want you to tell you, like, work out for you, be healthy, eat cleaner. Women out there, if you're actually listening, just understand, words have impact, and vice versa, guys. Your words have impact to your wife, too. Don't sit there like, hey, you should get a boob job. If she talks about it, then fine, but don't, like, drive at home or anything, or tummy tuck or anything like that. The thing is, goes both ways. Supporting your spouse in a healthy way, eating healthier. America is full of people that want to fucking have quick fix. You get these Ozempic pens and all these things that are killing people. Just eat healthier. Like, I personally, I just got rid of crap. I don't do soda pop. If I do, it's like 4 times a year. I think alcohol is probably the only thing that I still do that's bad. If I didn't do that, I'd probably honestly be thin as hell. But just be supportive. Yeah, maybe not.
But you know what? We love you the way you are, Dustin.
Well, I get 10,000 steps a day from work, and body hurts, and I still fix everything myself and stuff like that, and want to go for those walks and that quality time. And I've learned a lot over the years, and if we can help people learn it sooner, and
if, because I've lost almost 90 pounds in 3.5 months.
Yeah, and that's the key.
And
time.
So if anybody wants to know how, and like with the program that I'm on, that kind of thing, email us, message us through the social media, whatever. I make no money off of this. I pay for it. I'm not endorsing it because I'm like a spokesperson or anything like that. It just works, and it works really well for men if you stick with it.
Yeah.
But if I feel more like me,
Yeah, and that's the key, is like the body shaming. You gotta, like, put it aside. Ignore social media. They're just programmed to feed you a lie. And just support yourself. Do what you want to do for yourself. Eat healthy for yourself. Exercise for yourself. And eventually that will transition into your family and your wife, and that will build that, and you'll just feel more confident. And as a dad, you'll be able to run and play with your kids and do things with your kids. And
if you're not married and you're divorced and stuff like that, it helps you be a better father to your kids when you feel better about yourself, when you feel confident, And it's not about the weight. It's not about muscle. It's not about anything like that. It's just about you feeling more like you.
Yeah.
And I think most of us don't know what that's like.
Nope.
So.
We're always told, man.
Yep.
It's crazy. Everybody join us next week, next Tuesday, for our new podcast. Down in the comments, definitely share your body shaming stories as a kid, or your wife, or what you did to overcome that. Also
or how things went really well. How you overcame that, or positive experiences too. The negatives in part of it, but the positive is too.
And we have a friend that that wants to do another podcast, and he told this right off. He goes, the two things I learned was I never talked bad about my wife to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I never asked for advice from other people, and she doesn't either.
Yeah.
And we do activities together.
Yeah.
And they're happy as hell, and their kids are happy and healthy. So that's good. So again, join us next week.
Yeah. Remember that, we do this podcast for our entertainment, but we really hope that you guys enjoy it too. Come on social media, follow us, listen to us. We got a lot of stuff that we do that's not just the podcast. So, but comment, let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, that'd be good too. All right, Kansas City. Stay classy.
Stay classy, Kansas City.